I'm going to record this. Um, Tonight we are going to present two things. One is the state of the school. Instead of doing one big state of the school and then having you come to a separate meeting for move ups, we thought we would just start with that. I'm going to move pretty quickly through the state of the school. If you have questions about it at the end, we will do that. As always, we start with our vision and mission. Vision is your children. You probably have this memorized, but being compassionate leaders is a big part of who we are. Diversity, being grounded in faith, and on a daily basis, our teachers, who you're going to hear from, are the ones who inspire learning. They nurture growth, and all of us embrace Episcopal education and the values that that holds. You have seen this slide before. The blue circles in this Venn diagram you can find on any Episcopal school, which is the next slide. If it's moving to the next slide. And I think it's really important to highlight this, especially in our polarized atmosphere that we're in right now, is that inclusivity and diversity is not just words. It's how do you bring people to the table? How do you have them understand that the world is made up of different people that bring something to the table, and that's grounded in faith through love and respect for one another, which is the foundation of community. And here at St. Benedict's, collaborative learning is a big part of that. It's exemplified by our teachers who you're going to hear from, and when we do that well, academic excellence is what we're about. About 5 or 6 years ago, we started our strategic plan, and there are 8 objectives. These are those objectives. The big ones are expanding the facility, making sure our aftercare program is integrated with our curriculum, as well as being able to have you all drop your kids off and know they're being enriched. And then the STEAM program, that's a big part of what it means to exceed our traditional standards, which is one of those objectives. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we got to the big grant that we got for our STEAM program. So looking at this, our marketing strategy is one of those objectives. Hopefully you see this not as pretty pictures and well done social media. However, Nicole Pree makes sure that's all part of it. It's really attracting and keeping the children who are in your child's classroom there. You all, 95, 99% of what attracts people to St. Benedict's is the families. You all talking to each other on the playground, being out in Smyrna, being on the ball field, that kind of thing. What we're trying to do is make sure that when we share who we are with one another, it's a coherent plan. And these bullet points really exemplify what we're striving for, what we've accomplished in the last 2 to 3 years because of that focused attention towards bringing children in and keeping the children who are here. Enrollment has begun. These are the dates. They will be on the website. If you've got friends who are looking for a school that has made a plan to stay open through COVID, done a very good job of educating our children before COVID, and will continue doing that after COVID. This is what it's about. Financial aid is a big part of who we are because we have 2 working families in most of our student body. Being able to provide for them and make sure that, you know, even during COVID, we can keep you here through the years to come. So applications for those begin on February 1st. If you would like to continue marketing towards your friends, yard signs on Tuesday next week, we will be out handing those out. If you remember, we did this last year. It's going to be a little more informal this year. Being able to share who and what we are with your neighborhood groups on Facebook, making sure that you've got the magnets on your car and that kind of thing. This is about marketing, but it's about attracting the families that you like and the children that you want to have around your children in the classroom. Preschool through 8th grade. A lot of people, and you all know this, being at this age group, want to know, what about building high school? We really want to be a very good preschool through 8th grade school, because your children are experiencing middle school right now, and having them in a safe place, nurturing their gifts, making sure that they understand that being different is what makes them a leader, not what makes them an outcast. is what we strive to do at St. Benedict's. And, being able to open the door, look down the hallway, and see if there's any mischief going on just by a look in an eye. We're right there. So we're on top of it, and we want to continue being that for our community here in Smyrna. Another big piece of our objectives is the after school program this summer. These are some of the things that we are going to be offering. And we added this year during holidays some more aftercare. And you all probably have not had a chance to do that because we're so worried about COVID. But this is part of our after school program and how we're integrating that with our families and in the situations that they're in. You got to work till 6, we're here for you. And there's things that we can do for you. Fundraising, people have asked me, why do you keep asking for money? Acorn Fund is more than just a means to an end. The objectives that it attracts feed us way into the future. So as we go through the next slide, this is what it looked like this year. The percentages on the top, percentage is a big part of what attracts outside funders to St. Benedict's. Knowing that we are all in allows them to amplify what we're doing already as a family, as a community, to make sure that the monies that they are going to invest in St. Benedict's are going to be amplified further. These are just on the bottom, some of the ranges and things that we've done. And because the Acorn Fund has been so successful, Angela? Again, these are some of the things. The Acorn Fund, it's important to understand that tuition doesn't pay everything. You all have heard this over and over again. 96 to 97% of our operating budget comes from tuition. The other 3% makes us special. And what makes St. Benedict special is being able to provide for our teachers professional development. The Spanish program that we have is an expensive part of what we do, and it's important that St. Benedict's that continues, and being able to attract teachers and being able to retain the teachers that we have is huge. This year, the Acorn Fund has made a commitment to increase our diversity inclusion initiative. It's been going on for a while, but we were able to dig in. Again, like I said, it's a polarized environment out there. I don't need to tell you that. But in order to measure diversity and measure initiatives as a school, curriculum is a big part of that. And so we have partnered with Pollyanna to do some training and to enrich the curriculum that we have, to add to our history, social studies, science, and bring all the different people who have been a part of that and the systems that have made that either possible or not possible, make our children aware of that. And then looking at our whole student body, there's an inventory out there. The IDI, the Intercultural Development Inventory, allows us to see where we are on a spectrum as a community. Are we not inclusive? Do we keep people out, or are we very inclusive and we are able to integrate, and not only that, but accept people for who they are, learn from them, and continue growing? So this is a spectrum that we are moving. We're working with one of our parents, Dr. Tiffany Russell, to continue the work that we have already started with our diversity and inclusion initiatives. Thanks to your gifts to the Acorn Fund. And like I said, your gifts have allowed us to attract outside foundations. Quizetta has been very interested in what we're doing. They've watched our growth. They were a part of our strategic plan and really dug in, as you can see, with a huge investment for next year. The next slide will show you what we are going to be doing for the next 3 years with that money. These are our measurables. One more. And as you look at this, the slide before really describes what STEAM is. It's not just science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. It's a philosophy of integrating all of that into a lesson, so that you're not just learning in silos about science, but you're bringing all of it together as one. And these are a list of things that we're going to do to make sure that that happens each year. We're going to be adding to that program. And again, just another overview of deliverables for you all to see how this is going to affect us next year specifically. The first objective on our strategic plan was facilities. Unfortunately, if you're new to St. Benedict's, you haven't been able to see how badly we need to expand. But as we look to expansion, we're not looking to expand more than 3 sections per year. This year with COVID, most people stopped what they were doing with their strategic plan just to survive. We saw an opportunity not only to create space for our 4th grade, be able to spread out because of COVID, but expand on this initiative and objective for our strategic plan. So those of you with 4th graders or rising 4th graders know how important this is. This was a layout of or a bird's eye view or drone view in this case of our property. Number 1 is our main campus. The Hive is number 2. Your children are in number 3, the South Campus there to the right of number 3. If you remember way up the top there north on Daniel Street, we looked at some property because of COVID and because of the initiative we needed to expand. We have put that on pause. We've still got a very good relationship with the owners, but we have paused that and really moved to Plan B. And if you look at Plan B, this is our main campus. The blue is the current building. You can see the nave. Atlanta Road is at the bottom. Cooper Lake Road is at the top. The black top is where the pink building is, and you will see the word middle school there. The idea is to move our classrooms from across the street, 10 classrooms, into more than 12 to 15 classrooms into the middle school. That will allow us to expand 3 sections per grade. But if we don't do that, which we don't need to, the specials will occupy those extra classrooms. If we do that, the yellow classrooms will be a next phase of the capital campaign, which will include our specials. And then the 5th part, the 5th phase will be building where Danco or the Hive is now into a gymnasium. And the next slide shows those phases. You probably have no idea that we have already accomplished phase 1, which is huge. That's the Hive. You will not probably hear about phase 2, which is purchasing the land where the Hive is. Again, phase 3, we don't have a timeline directly, but we are at a point where the 4th grade is going to be 3 sections. If we don't have COVID, right now it's 4. It will be 3 sections in the 5th grade, and we will soon outlive and outgrow the South Campus. So timing of that really is about enrollment, and it's about admissions and that kind of thing. So that will be a public phase 3, but phase 2 will be private. And as I said, the next slide is a huge accomplishment. 10 years ago, as I was driving up Atlanta Road, I constantly saw the Danco building, that financial building, and thought at some point we need that. That's the next slide, Angela. And we were able to raise outside of our operating budget $250,000 to renovate that and to take control of that property. So congratulations, we did it. So how can you help? The next steps are identifying large gifts. That could be grandparents, that could be friends. Christy Brown, our CFO and strategic officer, and I are here if you know anybody. If you would like to host a giving circle, I constantly refer to fundraising as friend raising. So if you have people who are interested in the future of Smyrna and our community, having a choice for education in Smyrna, St. Benedict's is one of the best choices that there is for independent school learning. We're a small community, as you all know. We're faith-based with an emphasis on including all faiths. And you're about to hear from what makes us so special, which is our teachers. So exceeding our traditional standards, that's an objective that most of you probably hear curriculum and you think a book. Some of you may have heard of something called a Common Core or Georgia Standards for Learning. When you think about learning and you think about curriculum, it's really what do you want our children to learn? And at St. Benedict's, we are graduating children who can write an essay that impresses other independent schools and our magnet schools in the area. We are graduating students who don't need to take algebra in the 9th grade, where it traditionally is offered, because they're graduating with that already. That happens way back in preschool and being able to build the standards on that. And as you remember, we hired Angela, what was it, last month, Angela? 2 years ago? It felt like last month, to come on board and to really help us measure these. And the next slide, she's going to take it from here.
Yes, so obviously I am thrilled to be at St. B's, and I'm glad I didn't just come on last month. So, my favorite thing is curriculum and pedagogy, and working with the teachers and creating experiences for the students to help them exceed these traditional standards, and all of that really is rooted in best practice and research. And, every school has standards, but it's what you do with those standards and how you engage the students that matters. And that all comes down to then the curriculum and pedagogy, which is unique to each school. And, I mentioned this in our last presentation because we were talking about what 6th grade Spanish is like. And Senora Ford is on here. She's going to talk to you about what 7th grade Spanish is like. But just to share with you, an example of just exceeding those standards and what we do with curriculum and pedagogy is the great example of what the 6th graders have been doing most recently in Spanish, in watching The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe in Spanish. And then taking that information, they have been for many years learning vocabulary and listening skills in Spanish, and phrases and conjugating verbs. And now they are taking a movie, which they don't normally probably play Spanish movies on the weekends or go see Spanish movies with their friends, but now they're learning this movie in a new context and taking everything that they have learned and applying it and being able to answer those comprehension questions. And so that's a great example, and one that I love to share about going above and beyond. And, just as Father Brian mentioned that, a lot of our students are not, they're taking Algebra 1 in 8th grade, so then they're able to move on to higher math. It is the same with Spanish as well, because most of our students are testing into Spanish 2 and 3 in high school. So last year, we partnered with an organization that created for us an assessment management system. And this is customized specifically for us at St. B's to measure school progress. It is just an internal database for us to use. When we look at assessment, there are a variety of measures that we are looking at to show progress for students. Standardized testing being one of them, which we will do here in April, and then again next year in April. And so we're able to kind of take that data and start to look at different trends that might be happening. So these were some of our priorities for this school year. And, we had created these goals pre-COVID, certainly, but we were really happy when we, pulled this presentation together. We were like, well, despite all of the curveballs that the COVID restrictions have thrown our way, we are proud to say we have accomplished all of these goals. So, when we wrote these priorities, we did not yet have that Goizueta grant. And so, our goal was, how can we continue to develop the STEAM program and continue to pursue the grants that would allow us to really execute fantastic projects with the students. And so you're really going to see a lot of that in play in 7th grade, because we are in the process now of working through the beginning phases of our grant and purchasing the materials and creating the curriculum. And so you'll get to see kind of the fruits of all of that as school starts in the fall. Emphasizing our middle school culture this year, really was our first year as a South Campus, really truly identifying as 5th through 8th grade for middle school. What I noticed last year when I came to St. Bees was just that South Campus culture, and all of our 5th through 8th graders really being immersed in that middle school culture. And it just made more sense to make sure that they felt a part of middle school and didn't feel like those 5th graders were still part of lower school, which I know they were, our students last year. This particular year, that 5th grade class has expanded to 3 classes, and potentially that will keep growing. And then our goal this year was faculty retention and professional growth, and I can assure you we have all been engaged in a lot of professional development and growth just since March of last year, when we have really kind of hit fast forward on all of our technology skills. And same with the students, we're learning right alongside them in some of these aspects. And let me tell you, they are really going above and beyond. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. So as you all have rising 7th graders, 8th grade's not too far away. And so, it will be just another, 2 years, or really next year at this time, as we're sitting here thinking through what happens in high school for your kiddos. And, until then, we want you to fully embrace 6th grade and next year 7th grade. But we just like to show, where many of our 8th grade graduates do go. You can see on here a lot of the local private schools, some not so local. And then the Cobb Academic Division that you see there in the center, that is the Cobb Magnet program. And so a lot of our students are applying into those different programs, at the various schools around town, very focused on different fields that they are interested in. So we are always very proud of our graduates and where they are headed, and we keep in touch with all of them. And that's why we're able to provide for you not only this information, but then where they end up after high school as well, because we do have some who are in college now. So who is ready for 7th grade? I know that if I asked all of your students today in school, I would have gotten all the hands. Moms, dads, you may not quite be ready for 7th grade, but that's okay. We still have 5 months left of 6th grade to explore, but we wanted to give you some insight into what 7th grade has in store. The beauty of South Campus is, even though they haven't had most of these teachers as core teachers yet, because our 7-8 team is slightly different from our 6th grade team, they have seen them obviously every day on campus. And so it's exciting to have some new teachers and then be able to travel to 7th grade with some familiar faces as well. And so this is our 7th and 8th grade team. So these are 4 teachers, Mr. Ash, Ms. Shiflett, Mr. Drake, and Ms. Harrell all teach both 7th and 8th. And then this year, Senor Ford teaches 6th and 7th grade Spanish, and Senor Otero teaches 5th and 8th grade. Sometimes they switch around with our Spanish, but they are our middle school Spanish team. And so we do have some of our teachers here tonight. Not everybody was able to be present, but for those that are here, I'm going to let them share their slides when we come to that. Most of these people. Actually, I hope you know all of these people. This is our middle school team, and you may recognize a few faces, and then there may be a few new faces. I think everybody is familiar with Miss Malloy, certainly providing a lot of student support anywhere that is needed. And that continues in 7th grade as well. She leads our advisory program, and then she's also she comes into the classroom to do guidance lessons as well with each grade level. Alyssa Jacobs is new to St. Bees this year, so some of you may not have met her. That may be a new face for you. She works directly with Miss McFall in Learning Resource, and we are happy to welcome Miss McFall back. She just returned here a few weeks ago from maternity leave. And Miss Matichak, you all know Miss Matichak. She is our middle school dean, and she really keeps things running at St. B's. Everything from student support and accountability to the technology, repairs and programs to the middle school merits. And, she wants to catch them being good. And so we certainly reward them for that as well. You all know Chaplain Porter Cade, and we get to see her every week, not only in chapel but also in religious studies. Now next year, we'll still see Chaplain Porter Cade in chapel, but you can see there at the bottom, Mr. Wortman is our religion teacher for 7th and 8th grade. And then we have Mr. Saucedo, Ms. Beer, and Ms. Olson as our co-curricular teachers, and then Nurse Sue. So, what's really important for us in 7th grade, just as in 6th grade, is just that student support, and that we can continue to provide support for all of our students, every year. So, Mr. Ash was not able to be with us today, but 7th graders are all geared up and prepared for pre-algebra. And so, Miss Mack really has focused a lot on that, is all year, but certainly from now until May, getting them ready for those pre-algebra skills. I know that many of you have been able to see the hands-on equations. And so that's part of our 6th grade year, is to really take the concept of algebra and pre-algebra being so abstract, where you're working with those equations on paper or even in your mind, and that hands-on equations, I know your children have shared with you, because I've gotten it as a parent too, where they have to demonstrate how to literally balance those equations. And so she's been able to really kind of bring that to life for them, which really helps them to understand the abstractness of algebra as they move on to Mr. Ash in 7th grade. And then that is going to certainly prepare them for algebra in 8th grade. And then Miss Drake is our science teacher. And in science, in 7th grade, we focus on life science. So this year in 6th grade, they're focusing on earth science. And next year is life science. And then in 8th grade, we look at more physical science with the chemistry and physics. And, you can see here, there's a lot of study of cells. Naturally, in all of our sciences, we're really focusing on, metric measurements and scientific method, and just being able to, hypothesize and collect data. But you can see here some of the key topics of our 7th grade science. So that's really quite interesting, and lots of cool cell models that your students will make next year. So I'm going to turn over to Miss Shiflett, because I know that she's on our call. I'm going to let her talk to you about history in 7th grade.
Well, first of all, I do want to say that, when I talk to my students that I've had before, they all say that they have gotten such a great start at St. B's, and that it's really done well for them in high school. And that makes me feel good, and hopefully it'll make you feel good as well, in all subjects. They don't consider just one, their thing. It's really pretty awesome. We've switched up a little bit this year. Angela and I talked about this and decided that we wanted to kind of get more in line with the state as far as the curriculum. So until this year, 7th grade was US history, and 8th grade was world history. So this year we're world historying for both classes. And so what that's going to do is then next year, our 7th graders, or 8th graders, sorry, will be in US history, which is more aligned with the state curriculum. And it seems like a good transition. Your 6th graders are in ancient world history to go to modern world history as a, follow on. There is some, with a new book and that we've got, there's really a good transition for this. They talk about those little things that make the students feel like they know a little bit, and then take it further, which is, kind of exciting for them to learn a lot more about it. So with modern world history, we take things, like I said, a little further. We go into the more modern aspects of the world countries, the leaders, and the students, of course, love projects, and I love for them to do projects. So we do a lot of those. And so hopefully this will work out really well for them and they'll really see that transition.
Thank you, Ms. Shiflett. And I believe that Ms. Harrell is on our call and she can talk to you a little bit about 7th grade English.
Yeah, hi everybody. I hope you can hear and see me. Yeah, so I am new to St. Bees, and I just want to echo what Ms. Shiflett said a little bit, in that, you know, when you're coming to a new school, you never really know what to expect in terms of the kind of foundation the students have had when they reach you. But I've been just so pleased with what I've seen with the 7th and 8th graders at St. Bees, in that they're very strong writers. And I taught 10th grade prior to coming to St. Bees, and a lot of the students at St. Bees are stronger writers than the 10th graders I taught. So that just tells me that they've had great training from Miss Perino and from all their teachers down through the lower grades. Yeah, so in 7th and 8th grade English, we're doing all of the traditional English things, reading, writing, studying grammar, which the kids don't always enjoy, but I think it's really beneficial for them. So we're doing all of those things. But something I've been trying to incorporate this year into our English curriculum is just to do some readings that are really relevant to what's going on in the world and to sort of what our students are experiencing or seeing in the world around them. Because I think oftentimes people think of literature as like, oh, it's just fun and it's reading a story, but it's not really related to my life. And so I'm trying to show them that that's not the case, that these books contain messages that are really relevant to what's going on in our world. So we've been looking at, so I've been trying to sort of update the curriculum a little bit while still maintaining a focus on the classics. Of course, we're going to do some Shakespeare this semester. So definitely trying to like strike a balance with classics and some more contemporary readings. And so of course, we're writing essays and discussing novels. But something I'm also doing with this, I also did with my 7th graders this past semester, was I had them make a podcast where they'd read a book that raised a lot of interesting topics about race relations, specifically in the US. And so what I had them do to sort of demonstrate their learning was to do research on a specific topic and then create a podcast, which I think they really enjoyed and which I thought was valuable because it shows them that, you know, there are many different ways to convey information and ideas. You can write an essay, but you can also use a podcast or you can use visuals. So I'm trying to expand things a little bit in that way. So I'm really excited to teach your children next year. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Harrell. And you all know Senora Ford, but she's going to talk to you a little bit about what makes 7th grade Spanish different from this year.
Hola, buenas noches. Well, first, I have to say that this year has been one of my favorite years to teach because I got to see again the kindergartners I saw a couple of years ago, and seeing how much they have grown and how much they have improved makes me really, really proud of them. So I've really enjoyed having them, and I'm looking forward to keep teaching them next year. And basically what we do in 7th grade is to continue with the book Realidades, and we continue introducing all the grammar that goes with it. And this semester, I'm gonna try, if COVID allows us, to do like a fashion show, because one of the units that we're gonna work with is a unit related with clothing, and for them to go and buy a special clothing for the summer, for the winter. So a couple of years ago, when I taught this class, I did a fashion show with the students, and they had to wear the clothes and they had to present what they were wearing and do like a presentation in front of the whole class. And that helps them to be more confident when they talk. So that's something that I'm doing with the 7th graders this year. I'm also doing the conversation practices, and I am introducing it in a way that they feel more confident when they're talking. So I give them the prompts and I tell them, okay, this is what we're going to talk about. So once we came back from vacation, the questions were like, what did you do? So most of them, I don't know how to say it in the past. And I say, don't worry about the past. Say it in the present and I will guide you and I'll tell you how to say it. And I give them some ideas, some prompts, and I tell them, these are the questions that I want you to answer. So I make them write them in a Google Doc, and I have access. So when I am having my conversation with them, it's a one-on-one. So my next step is to, instead of having a conversation one-on-one with me, I'm gonna pair them and have students do conversations one-on-one with the whole class listening and trying to figure out, okay, where did we make the mistake? What can we improve? And all of them become like more critical of their work. And as Ms. Mackenzie said, we just finished with the movie Chronicles of Narnia, and it was really a success. And I feel that they are improving a lot in not only their listening comprehension, but also in their writing and putting all the material that they have into words to express themselves. So I know we would like them to be completely fluent, but it's a process, and some of them are not there yet because they are very aware of their like surroundings, and if they feel that they say something wrong, one of their friends is going to make fun, and so I better don't say anything. So I'm trying to get them out of that shell and tell them, look, I've been in this country for several years and I'm still making mistakes in English. So if you guys correct me, I can correct you. So it's kind of like trying to move them into being more confident in what they talk. And then basically Realidades Uno is the book that we do in 7th grade and 6th grade. And then we go to the second part that is Realidades Dos, that is a little more advanced. I think a lot of schools are using what we are using right now. They're using that in high school in certain places. So when they leave with a very good Spanish basis, and those that want to continue with the Spanish track will have a strong background coming with them.
Yes.
So thank you for letting us teach your kids. I'm really happy.
Thank you, Jimena.
Okay.
So in 6th grade, our students are focusing on the Old Testament this year in religion with CPC. And then next year, as I mentioned, they will have Mr. Wortman. And the focus in 7th grade is Introduction to the New Testament. And so they will dive into, gospel stories, really, looking at lots of different New Testament texts and traditions. And Mr. Wortman really focuses a lot on projects and writing in his class as well. So, this year, I know your students may have been excited this year to kind of choose their fine arts path. And, COVID threw us a few restrictions, but I think that the students have really enjoyed it. And so, the students this year are certainly all getting to experience art and music and band. And we do hope that next year for fine arts, they will be able to maybe choose their path and maybe just take art for a semester or band. So we are hoping for that. We're hoping to be able to kind of bring back some of those processes that we had in the past with scheduling. Everybody does take PE though. And so what we're looking forward to is potentially like 3 days of fine arts and then 2 days of PE for their co-curriculars. So, we just will keep an eye on just how much we can move about the building and, mix up groups to see what kind of schedule restrictions are in place. But this year, I will tell you, students are so resilient, and we're so proud of them. And, they are fantastic with advisory and class discussion. And, advisory happens every Thursday. And there's just a lot of student discussion, kind of teacher-led discussion around lots of issues that just face them, as current 6th graders, and then next year as 7th graders. And so from year to year, those programs change, and then even really from month to month, because we keep our advisory program very flexible so that we can really focus on what they might need to be focusing on at the moment in their social circles or just kind of social emotional concepts. Tutorial, obviously last year we had tutorial after school on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and this year we have put it into the school day. And, we're looking at both options for next year. If we can kind of be a little bit more flexible and move about the building a bit, then we will probably go back to those Tuesday, Thursday after school sessions where all of the teachers are available at the exact same time, because we do know that that is beneficial. We have been very successful with it this year as well. And hopefully, I always try to schedule them toward the end of the day, toward the end of the week, so that they maybe have less homework. And then this year, clubs are really important at the middle school level. And so we have been able to still kind of keep alive 2 clubs that we were really able to put into both, 6th grade and 7th grade for next year, of course, across 5th through 8th. But right now, your students are in Helping Hands. And so we started the year really more with technology with them, because this has been their first year of having their own Chromebook. And so there was a lot of just technological skills that we wanted them to have that has always been a part of 6th grade. And then in addition to that, Google Classroom was new for us, 2 learning platforms, remote and in person. And so we spent the first semester really focusing on Google Classroom and technology skills. So then starting this January, they have Helping Hands once a week with Miss Mack and Miss Perino, and Helping Hands will continue into 7th grade. That is our service organization. And so they are focusing on community outreach and ways that they can, maybe host some drives that we can help people in the community, in the local community. Our 7th graders right now are also doing Helping Hands, and their focus is campus service. So they are hitting up the recycling right now, in addition to ways we can help our campus itself and all 3 campuses. And so they will obviously transition into that as well. Our 6th graders and our 7th graders also get experience with student council. And, we have student council can also take on kind of a service path, but we've really focused a little bit more on student leadership with student council. So we look to student council to kind of plan our spirit weeks. And they actually right now are planning a book drive that starts next week. So there's going to be some other leadership opportunities that your students are going to see not only this year, but certainly into 7th grade. What we are looking toward next year, though, are being able to bring back some of the other clubs that we held in past years, like the debate club. There were several different things that the students tried out, but debate is definitely one that they really loved. And, we're looking at like a STEAM club, and there's definitely going to be a robotics club. So we will certainly do everything that we can to be able to provide them with additional experiences beyond just that academic day. And we had to get a little creative this year, but we always want to be able to showcase what they can do and what they have learned, and certainly in the area of fine arts. And so our fall festival came about just from an idea from Mr. Walker with your students, because your students were really eager as sixth graders this year to present their Legend of Sleepy Hollow performances. And so that grew into all of our co-curriculars saying, okay, we can hold this exciting fall festival outside and it'll be perfect weather and the leaves will be falling. And then it rained. And so we were inside. But let me tell you, this is another example where your kids are resilient, because we had the best day. There was music playing all day, whether it was student performances or we had folk music. That's what they're doing. They're dancing. Our winter holiday concert, because we left a little early, got cut short. We're hoping, I mean, my favorite thing last year was that winter holiday concert in the Nave. And so that is our goal for next year. And then this year as well, we will still be doing a spring fling showcase, very similar to Fall Festival. And so we'll be able to showcase some of the different things that they've done. Naturally, we'll be videoing all of it this year, but hopefully you'll be able to attend in person in seventh grade. And our technology. So going one-to-one for the entire school this year, you know, obviously your students were going to be one-to-one regardless this year. And let me just tell you, they have really come so far this year. And I hope that you've been able to see that at home too. I mean, obviously I'm a current parent with all of you, and just the level of independence that I've witnessed as a parent with Google Classroom, you know, that really has helped them with a lot of their executive functioning skills, just being able to prioritize assignments and submit assignments. I have been really pleased with Google Classroom from, you know, the whole middle school perspective, but I'm really proud of our sixth graders who have really taken accountability for their own learning. And so I hope you're seeing that at home. And you know what, if you're sitting there thinking, well, I still have to do a lot of reminding, that's okay too. We're still doing a lot of that reminding in the school day too, but that is our goal. That's the goal of middle school, right? There's 4 years to get there. So your students still have 2 more years to be that independent learner before they head off to high school. Our seventh grade schedule really is not a whole lot different than their sixth grade schedule, with the exception that they do have a different teacher for every core class. And that is different this year because they have 3 core teachers. But then in seventh grade, they will have a different teacher for every class. And so, you know, that is a transition for them and a great introduction to 7th and 8th grade as they move on, you know, in their high school years. So, you know, this is an example of a current 7th grade schedule. You can see there where we have tutorials and we have art, music, religion. You know, it will look very similar next year as well. And the other thing that we are really hoping to bring back are our Bee Buddies. You know, we were able to launch that last year, and your students last year partnered with first graders. And so what's cool is next year they will actually have those same students, but they'll be third graders. So that doesn't always happen, but that is going to be super exciting for them. So we brainstormed this year, are there any ways that we can do it, you know, and to be virtual? And what we realized and what the students really get out of it are just what you see there in those pictures, that camaraderie and the collaboration of actually doing a project together as a 7th grader and a 3rd grader, or as a 6th grader and a 2nd grader. And then really making those relationships so that when they do see each other, they love to wave. So we are confident we'll be able to bring that back next year. And that's just another added element, not only to kind of that well-roundedness of our students, but also to the leadership, right? Because our 7th and 8th graders now are, you know, the leaders on campus. And we want to really start giving them those leadership opportunities. And then I know that many of you are very proud of your students currently, and our headmasters list and our honor roll continue, obviously, next year as well. You know, we look every year to bring in a variety of academic achievements or recognitions. You know, Duke Tip is another one that at the 7th grade level, we are able to qualify, the students are able to qualify based on scores from their ERB. And, this year's a little different because we didn't take it last year, but we're hoping to be in school in April, take our ERBs, and then that would be another academic recognition that we would be able to offer to your 7th graders next year. So we are very excited for your students to move on to 7th grade. But at the same time, we want them to fully embrace and love this 6th grade year because there's still lots and lots of time left in this school year. And I think they're having an awesome time. And I know that, our 6th grade teachers love them, but what's really cool is those 7th and 8th grade teachers get to watch them come up and then they're like, you're mine now. I get to work with you. I've seen you for a few years. So we are certainly a family on South Campus, and just the nature of the building, having the commons there with the open space. And even though we're not all switching classrooms, but the teachers are switching classes, we are, it's been a phenomenal year. I couldn't wait to get back in January and be with the students again. So we want to open it up right now for questions, and you are welcome to just unmute yourself and ask the question because we just have a small group with us, or if you feel more comfortable, you can certainly type your question in chat and we will monitor it. But we'd love to hear from you if there's anything that we did not cover. Or you may be asleep.
It's middle school. We're used to that.
I know. Yeah. Hey, we'll just keep talking. Don't worry.
Well, good. We're really, really excited about next year. This year has been survival for a lot of us. Your teachers are working more than you possibly can understand. Big kudos to them, putting themselves out there. We talk a lot about the medical front line, but there's a whole educational front line that your teachers are putting themselves out there for us to all be able to come back and learn in person. And thank you to those of you who are still on the line. Thank you, parents, for entrusting your kids in the safety protocols and everything that we've done to keep them safe. They're the number one reason we're doing what we do. And like Angela said, the long break couldn't have ended sooner because seeing the kids back on campus has been amazing. Those of you who are remote, seeing your kids on the Zoom is also a big part of what we're about. So don't want to short shrift you on that. We can't wait to see them hopefully next year when this is all past us. So any questions yet? That was all filler, as we call it in the preaching business. All right, good. Well, email us. You know where we are. Stop us in carpool if you see us, and have an incredible evening. Thanks so much for being here.